Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Mr. Wiz here. So we are currently building in Unity. We've been building a world that we started building in the last video. If you want to look at what I've got here so far, I've got a car, which is going to be my player character. I've got some terrain that I've built. I've got rocks and trees. We did all that in the last video. Since making the last video, I did do a couple edits on my own. One of the big changes I made is you might notice I put mountain ranges around the edge of my world. Why do you suppose I did that? Well, if you didn't notice, it is very easy to drive off the edge of the world. So, I wanted to kind of make it harder for someone in my world to accidentally drive off the edge, hence the mountain ranges. I think that'll really help. So I did that real easily with the terrain tool, painting and the hills and using the raise lower terrain, and just painting it around the edges. Try to create some tall hills there that would be difficult to drive over. Another change that I made off camera is when I was exploring my world, I noticed that my rocks, I was able to drive through my rocks just like I was able to drive through the trees in the last video. So when I examined my rocks more closely, they did have mesh colliders on them, but just like the trees, it seemed like they weren't working very well. So I turned off the mesh colliders and I added box colliders to them and made sure that they fit fairly well. So just a reminder as far as colliders go, box collider isn't necessarily the only one you should be using. There are definitely other colliders that you can use. If I do a search right here, there's capsule colliders, there's sphere colliders. So there's definitely other options that could fit your world, right? Or could fit your object, I should say. So yeah, if your mesh collider does not work on something, I usually just try to find the thing that's going to best fit it. It doesn't need to be a perfect fit, especially in a game like this where we are a car, because obviously for this rock, you'll notice the collider is bigger than the rock itself. But if my car hits any part of this collider, it will stop driving. And that's fine, because it's still covering most of the rock, even though there's some space here where the rock's not in. From the driver's seat, I'm not going to be able to notice that, right? I'm not going to be able to tell whether or not I'm actually hitting the rock or if I'm a few inches away from the rock, right? When it comes to colliders, you really are just looking for the best fit, but also the most reliable, right? So we try to get it fitting close, but it doesn't need to be perfect in most cases. Okay, so those are the couple things I've done since being on camera, was just editing my colliders for my rocks and adding a mountain range. I think we are ready to do some more stuff to our game. So I'm going to download real quick a couple more packages. So in my package manager, in my assets, there's a couple other things that I wanted to download. I'm going to add some buildings to my game. So here's an old download with some village buildings that I think will fit my mountain world pretty well. So if you haven't already gone to the asset store and looked up some cool props for your world, some things that you think will make it better, I would definitely recommend you do that. There's so much free stuff in the asset store that you can use. So I'll be using this building. I'm also going to add some other props, some things that I can drive into, some things that I can knock around the world, if you will. So I think I'm going to use probably traffic cones and things of that nature for the interactive element in my game. So I would encourage you to find some props online that you can drive into and knock around, things that don't have to stay still like the trees and the rocks, but can actually move when you hit them. So yes, all right, my village, it looks like it's done. So let me go ahead and import that real quick. I don't know if this village is still in the asset store. I hope it is. This is kind of nice. But if it's not, I'm sure you'll find something similar. So we'll go ahead and import that. Looks like it's a big one. All right, so other things we're going to download as well as decorations and things to hit. Also get yourself a skybox, because we are going to add a sky to our world. We're going to make some small changes to that as well today. I want to finish most of the decorative parts of my world today. Okay, it looks like I have finished importing the building. So what was the other stuff that I wanted to do? Yes, here's my props that I wanted to download or import, so I'll go ahead and add those as well. There's some pretty fun stuff here that I could drive into with my car that I think could be pretty fun addition to the game. All right, so I've got that downloaded and imported. So let's find some skyboxes real quick. I already have a bunch of these that I've downloaded before. We'll just use this one It works pretty well, and it covers a lot of different looks. So that'll help me make my world just look a little bit more finished, right? If you were hoping to do something more in line with like a city type program, the low poly road pack is one I've used before, which is really good. It has some great streets and roads that you can use to build some pretty cool realistic type of games, right? And it is low poly, which means it tends to work a little bit better. It might not look quite as fancy, but it works well. All right. So I finished downloading the things I wanted to add to my game, which was the skybox, the traffic cones, and then some buildings. So let's go ahead and get started there. With the skybox, it's easy enough. Hopefully you've done skyboxes before if you did the FPS microgame with us. So if I go to all materials, I should see my skyboxes in here. So I just need to find the skybox that fits the scene that I'm going for. Am I going for like a nighttime scene? If I am, I could use this one, right? If I'm going for a beautiful day, I might use one of these. Ooh, I like that one a lot. Maybe this one. Nah, I think I like the beautiful day one earlier. Oh, this one's nice too. Kind of a pink sky. I think I'm going to go with this one. All right, so you decide whatever skybox you think looks good for your worlds. And then I'm going to put some stuff in it. I'm just going to decorate some stuff. So let's say I want to put some buildings right here. I'm noticing there's a lot of trees here, right? It wouldn't really work good for me to put buildings someplace where there's a ton of trees. So I should probably clear this out. How can I erase some of these trees? Well, in the terrain tools, the same place where I painted trees, you'll see in the text here it says I can hold shift and click to erase trees, or I can hold control and click to erase only the selected type. So if I only wanted to delete the tree but not the rocks, I could hold down control while I'm doing it, or I can just hold down shift if I want to erase my rocks and my trees and everything that I put there, right? So let's do shift and click, and I'm going to make a clearing for some of these buildings. So we'll make a little clearing right here and right there. That's pretty good. All right, so now if I go to my prefabs, I should see the things that I've downloaded. Here are some of those buildings that I downloaded, and I can real quickly throw these in here, and I can rotate them. I can change their size, change their position, any of that stuff that I wanted to. In addition to these buildings that I downloaded, though, I also want to add the building that I made. Remember the building that I made? Let's go grab that. Right here. Boom. So let's put it right over here. And I'm going to rotate it a little bit. So I would encourage you in your world to use downloaded prefabs, but to also use the things that you made, right? So let's go check out these buildings and the building that I just downloaded. So WASD, I forgot, is how I drive. I keep on trying to use arrow keys, but for these controls, WASD is the way to go. Oh, look at that. I'm driving up to my building. Okay, it looks like I have some trees there, so I should probably clear out some more trees. Didn't clear out enough of them. But isn't this neat? I'm literally driving up to the building that I made just a couple days ago. And it really does look to scale, right? This is great. So the car, the buildings that I downloaded, and the building that I made are all pretty realistic scale. I love this. This is so cool. Okay. So I'm just going to move over there and clear out some of those trees that are growing in my monument. So once again, I got to select the terrain. I have to select the paint tree option, and I'm going to hold down shift and click to erase those trees. And I can adjust my brush size, right? So if I just want to clear out a couple of these, I can. And if I want to add some trees, maybe I could put, oh, that's too many. Let's undo that. Control Z to undo. Let me lower the density of those trees. So I could put some trees around it, clear out some of the areas that I deleted them from, right? That's pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, definitely encourage you to go ahead and start decorating your world with buildings and other things that you think would look cool. I'm going to delete a couple of those trees so I still can see the building pretty well. Okay, but I also want to put in my game those cones. I want to have something that I can run into. So right now, I'm in the all prefabs, and I don't see those cones. I don't see them anywhere. So that tells me that the cones I downloaded were not prefabs. They're probably models. So let me go over to models. Yep, here we go. So what is the difference between a prefab and a model? Well, models don't have stats on them. They don't have components on them. It is surprising they didn't make prefabs of these, but that's okay. So I'm going to grab some of these. There's a couple different ones here, so I can kind of decide which ones I want to use, and I'll probably have to create some colors for them. Here we go. Here's some cones. So let me grab one of these cones here, and I'll put that right there. And let me put a couple of them. I'm going to put a couple of these in front of... Actually, you know what? Not yet. Let me color it, and then I'll just duplicate it. So, I need to switch over so I'm not messing with the train. Let's go. So here's a plain one. Let's go ahead and give it a new material. So I'm going to create an orange material for my traffic cone. Boom, boom, boom. We'll make it real orange, real reflective, just like a traffic cone should be. There we go. And I'm going to call this material traffic cone so I know what it's for. I could change the smoothness of it or the metalness of it. I don't want it to be too shiny, but I do want it to be a little shiny because it's made out of rubber, these things are, right? So they should be a little on the shiny side. Probably like right about there is good. All right, so I've got this model, and it is just a model. It does not have any components on it other than just its appearance, right? So if I want my car to be able to drive into these and even knock them around, I'm going to need to put some components on it. So the first component it needs, in order to touch it, in order to collide with it, I guess you probably know where I'm going with this, it needs a collider. So I need to figure out the best fit for this. I'm curious about this one. Now keep in mind, I should not use any of the ones that say 2D. So which collider should I use for this? What would a capsule collider look like? Not terrible. Let me remove that one and try a different one. Unfortunately, there are no cone-shaped colliders. I could use a mesh collider, but as we've noticed, for some reason in this program, the mesh colliders have not been working very well. But I might still try it. If I put a mesh collider on it, it'll fit it pretty closely. And then I do have the convex option. The convex option basically creates a wrap that's bigger than the object. So here, this convex one actually looks really good. I like this one. I'm going to see if this works. So we're going to try the convex collider. All right. I also don't just want to hit it. I want to be able to knock it around, right? So I'm also going to give it rigid body. Remember us doing rigid body when we did our bouncy ball? I'm going to give it rigid body. And with the rigid body, I have to make sure gravity is turned on, but I can also give it mass. Right now, the mass is set to 1 kilogram. That's the default setting. What is the mass of my car, I wonder? I don't see it there. It must be one of the components inside of it. One of these components has to have rigid body on it because the camera falls. I mean, not the camera. The car falls when I drive it. So something in the car must have rigid body on it. Oh, it was on the first one. I don't know how I didn't see that the first time. Okay, so Prometheus has rigid body and a mass of 950. That is a pretty heavy car, and we want it to be heavy, right? So my cone should probably not have a mass of 1 because it's really light. I'm thinking maybe 0.1. I'm just guessing here. I could probably Google it. Maybe I should Google it. So I'm just curious about the weight of a car. In kilograms. So 1,900, and ours is only 900, so ours is actually a light car. All right. So let's check out traffic cone. $1.5 to 3 kilograms. Hey, I guess 1 isn't that bad. I thought it would be lighter than that. I'm glad I looked this up. Okay, so let's go back to the game. We will leave it it's at about 1.5 to 3. So I'm going to make it a mass of 2. All right, so I've given it a mass of 2 kilograms. It has gravity on it. It has the collider on it. Let's go drive into it and see what happens. Fingers crossed that mesh collider works for us, because I know we had some problems with that on the trees and on the rocks. So I'm going to drive around back to my building, find that traffic cone, and drive right into it. Here we go. That's a small traffic cone compared to the size of this car. So it looks like I just drove right through it. Oh, but it did fall over. You guys see that? Look at it. I knocked the traffic cone over. It worked. It worked. Ha ha. It worked. I think I might need to make this traffic cone bigger, though, because that was really tiny. So let's go ahead and use the scale tool to increase the size of this cone. How big should I make it, I wonder? That's probably way too big. We're about there, so that's about 1.5, 1.5. Let's try that. See if I can make it a more interesting visual. Oh yeah, that's much bigger. Hey, I'm knocking it around. It works. And it fell over. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for realism. So in your world, I'm going to encourage you to have some things that you can't knock over, like these trees and these rocks, right? What about this building? Does this building have a collider on it? It does. Good. So I can't knock over the building. That makes sense. So I would encourage you to have some things in your world that you can knock over and some things that you can't. So think about what you're going to put Rigidbody on and what you won't put Rigidbody on. You know what else I could do just for fun? I could put my basketball in here. Remember the basketball that I made? Where's the car at? I'm just having fun now. All right, I'm going to give myself a basketball to toss around. And I should be able to knock this around. Remember, the basketball also has bounce on it. So I can literally knock it into things and probably even bounce it off of things. There we go. You saw I just bounced off the tree? I'm having fun now. I'm having fun now, guys. So I guess theoretically, if you wanted to, you could create a little Rocket League type game in here just for fun. Maybe make the ball bigger and do some goofy stuff with it. Is there anything else I want to talk about before I let you guys go? So basically, I just want you to have fun. Build stuff in your world. Make some things, give some things bounce, right? And so maybe I could give my traffic cone bounce. I probably wouldn't, but I could, right? Other stuff that are in your prefabs. Remember the thing that you made? I made these trees. You made whatever you made. Maybe you want to hide this in your world somewhere. So my tree looks kind of silly in this world. It's not very realistic. But maybe I want to hide it somewhere. Maybe I want to put it on top of one of these mountains. Now, obviously, the world that I'm making here is pretty big. I used 4 of these terrains. You might not want to use 4 of them, because this is a pretty massive world. You might want to only use 1. But I'm going to let you guys... Oh, actually, hold up. Before I let you go, let's talk about one last thing. I know I was about to say I was going to let you go, but hold up real quick. Hold that thought. Directional light. Directional light is the sunlight. Feel free to edit this for your world, too. You might want to look at the sky that you have going on here. So for my skybox, the sun is technically over there. But if you look at my directional light, the sun is acting like it's over here. So I probably want to rotate this to match the direction of the sun in my skybox, right? So if the sun's coming from over there, then this should probably be coming from the same direction. And it looks like I should probably lower it some. There we go. So now my sunlight actually looks closer to the sun. Ooh, I can line it up real close from this angle. Here we go. Oh, now it looks like a sunset almost. This is cool. Let's see what it looks like in game. Oh, this looks so good, guys. This looks so good. It matches my skybox so well. So yeah, definitely play around with the light. You can also change the brightness and the color of your light. So intensity is the brightness, and there is color changing as well. I wouldn't normally change these unless maybe it's a nighttime scene. Maybe it's not a sun in your game that's giving off light. Maybe it's the moon. If it's the moon, then it's probably not going to be as bright. So you could probably lower the intensity to a decimal point, something less than 1. And you might even want to change the color to maybe more of a white light or maybe a bluish light if it's nighttime, right? So during the day, I don't usually change these. I just worry about the rotation and all that. But in a nighttime scene, I might mess with these a little bit. Okay, I will leave you there. Build something awesome. Have fun with that. If you learned something new in this video, click the like button. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. And I'll see you guys in a future video. Have a great rest of your day.